Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Well, not ordinary today. We're going to talk to Adam Caplan in just a minute or so. The Eagles have extended the contract of Saquon Barkley. $41 million extension. What does it mean? The instant reaction for me is, wow. The Eagles just absolutely blow him away by saying, hey, we're going to come to you. We're going to re-sign you. It's a 2-year, $41 million extension. So what does this mean? He is here through the 2028 season. He will be the first running back to make more than $20 million. He gets a $36 million guarantee at signing. So this is a move, and we're going to talk to Adam about it. Why now? Why did they make this move in this moment? You know, free agency hasn't begun. They really haven't had to do anything, but does this set them up for some opportunities in the free agent market, in the trade market, all that stuff? A couple other things before we talk to Adam Caplan here. This is a historic season. It's a historic deal because he's the highest paid running back in NFL history, and he gets that $36 million at signing, which means, you know, you were imagining that this is going to be, that this deal is signed for cap purposes. When you get that much money up front like that, remember, he got a 3-year, $38 million deal last year. You give him another $40 million, another $36 guaranteed, plus he has an escalator with $15 million potential as well. The big thing is, he is 28 years old. He had 345 touches last year. Is this move a pertinent move? Is it a smart move? I mean, we all love Barkley. I don't think there's anybody out there that's like, man, I don't like that dude. He stinks. No. But Howie Roseman is not a dumb man. He has to have a reason why he decides to pull the trigger on this deal. And there's a couple things. One, the optics of it to free agents around the league. Hey, when it comes to contracts, we're your friend. We are going to come to you when you perform. You know, it is the hope for all of us out there that when you perform, your employer notices it. And here's Saquon Barkley saying, you signed me, and somehow I outperformed that deal. That's hard to do when you got paid the amount of money he got paid. But he did. And the Eagles came to him and said, you outperformed that deal. We're going to give you more money. But why? As John McMullen said earlier today, look, they don't hand out a deal like that without thinking that they got, and I don't want to say an advantage. They're not getting, quote unquote, getting one over on him. His agent's not going to allow that to happen. But he got money, big money, and in the same breath, the Eagles probably got some sort of flexibility to make it worth them going to the player, right? And offering the amount of money that they did. $41 million with $36 million signing bonus. When you look at what the Philadelphia Eagles were able to pull off today, it's a smart move financially, cap-wise, I'm sure. And Adam can explain a little bit more about that, and he's going to join us in just a minute. He's actually, getting some more details on all this stuff. He just texted me. He'll be on here just in a couple moments. But we had McMullen on earlier, and he talked about the things that stand out about this deal. The Eagles are a year ahead of doing this generally. That's why they're better than Dallas. That's why they're better than these teams that they don't know when to approach the guys. They wait till they get to free agency. Then they get hit over the head, and then their cap situation's a disaster. In the case of Barkley, you get a guy that they said, let's do right by this guy. Let's do right by him. Now, the big thing is Howie gets a lot of praise when it comes to this stuff because of the cap manipulation, yada, 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 all that stuff. But you have to have Jeffrey Lurie on board to write the check. You got to get Jeffrey Lurie on board to write that check for $36 million guaranteed. All right, let's break it down. Adam Caplan is here from the Inside the Birds podcast, Football at 4. And, Adam, I imagine there's an emergency pod coming at some point here. But this is big news. I mean, this is the highest-paid running back in the history of the game. He's the first $20 million a year running back. Why today? Why now?
Yeah, and I'm glad that the Eagles made news for us. It's always great on Inside the Birds. No, we don't need it, not for a contract. I mean, it's one thing if he left or they had a big trade, but what it does is gives us juice for our show tomorrow. We got a lot we're going to get into with this, break it down and go inside the situation. But with Barkley, Mike, the fascinating thing is, number one, they did not have to do anything. I mean, they made him the second highest paid running back in the NFL behind Christian McCaffrey, and then McCaffrey got an adjustment on his contract. And Barkley had the best year in NFL history at running back obviously through a Super Bowl. And they looked at it, and he was making about $12.6 million a season. And there was an issue with 2026, Mike. Very little guaranteed money in year 3, only $1.3 million, and they did it. They did right by him. Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman, but Jeffrey because he signed the contracts, and Howie, with his relationship with Ed Berry from CAA, I believe he did this deal. In terms, they did the previous deal, so it's a win-win all around. And Mike, now we know this: no matter what happens, Barkley will be here. And even if let's say he misses almost all the season, or he has a bad season, because guys who have 2,000 yards typically the next year don't do very well. Let's say he only runs for 1,100 and it has a bad year. It won't matter in terms of him being on the roster in 2026. He will absolutely be here because of the money you just mentioned from the ESPN report. They guaranteed $36 million. Mm-hmm. That'll keep him on the roster through 2026 no matter what. Now, the contract, the previous contract ended after 26. There were 4 void years for cap purposes. So we don't know yet because I haven't got the structure yet about what it looks like. But this is obviously a massive increase. You're talking about nearly $7.5 million a year of an increase. Now, I want to caution people. A lot of these deals are backloaded, where it might be over $20 million, but on average, but the real money might be $17 million. We just don't know it because I haven't seen it. But the bottom line is the Eagles guaranteed more money. That's without question. That is a great job by Jeffrey Lurie to do this, and Howie to get the negotiating going, and CAA to take care of it, and to take care of their best player. To do this, Mike, that's the way you do it. Now, the only can of worms it could open, because I know the way this works, agents who have players who have time left on their deal, they may say something to Howie, hey, what about my guy? That could happen, but the Eagles are taking care of Saquon, and nobody has a problem with that.
Yeah, now I guess the thought is, like, Howie Roseman and the Eagles, they're not dummies. Do they approach him because it benefits them in some way?
Mike, I'm looking – remember, it's always about cash, not cap. I'm looking at his cap numbers here, Mike. They're actually they're actually very reasonable. On the prior deal, this year was $7.3 million. 26 was $9.31 million. Now, because of the void years, there was $20 million. Even if he did not play, even if he retired after 26, there was $20.2 million in cap charges because of the voidable years, because there are 4 voidable years. So, no, I don't. I mean, I will. Again, I don't. The new deal is not available yet for the breakdown. I will get that. I always get the contract breakdowns. I'll get it, and we'll talk about it inside the Birds. But
so to be clear, Adam, real quick, he is signed through 2026. His base salary coming up next year will be 1.1. The following year is 1.3. The extension is for 2027 and 2028. He got a $36 million signing bonus there, so he gets that money up front. But his base salary is still paltry compared to people, correct?
Right. Hang on. Is it out there that the signing bonus is $36 million?
He got a guaranteed. I don't know if it's a. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a complete. Yeah, just so you know, that has nothing to do with it.
Hold on, let me. I thought it was a signing bonus. Let me.
No, I think it's fully guaranteed. They fully guaranteed through the ESPN report $36 million. That does not mean it's a signing bonus.
It says 36 guaranteed at signing.
Yeah, that's not signing bonus. That just means that in all the signing bonus, the base salaries, and any other bonuses are fully guaranteed at signing. That's what that means.
And he has the ability to earn 15 more in incentives and escalators.
And by the way, he hit, I think, every incentive, which is insane, Mike. They won a Super Bowl, and he set the record rushing. It's crazy.
ironically here, Adam, I'm getting a lot of text messages today, as you can imagine. There's a lot of people scratching their heads, and they're saying, why? He gave you the best year he ever had. Why would you sign him after that year? 345 carries, 2,000 yards.
Yep.
Do you wonder if this was a pertinent decision?
Oh, wait, say it again. I didn't hear the end of that. What did you say?
Are you wondering if this is a smart decision to say, you just gave us 2,000 yards, but 345 carries at 28 years old with some injury histories? Do you worry about that if you're Philadelphia?
Very fair. Smart texters, Mike, because history shows that you can look at Chris Johnson. You can look at it. That there haven't been a lot of them, obviously, but you can look at the guys who've had monster years like this. They're typically never the same. Other than Derrick Henry, he's still, and obviously he was great this past season. He still has been very good after that. But yeah, I look. If you and I own the business, we probably wouldn't have done it. I probably said, look, let's see him do it one more time. Let's see him do it again. Should have a great season. Then we're going to reward him because you can't keep asking him to play on this deal. Now, I don't know who approached whom here. I would like to know that. Did CAA approach Howie, or did Howie approach them? Believe it or not, I would think. I don't know. Did Saquon speak up? I don't know. These deals sometimes it could be a combination of both. Mm-hmm. But it just what Saquon did was so crazy. And let's not forget, and I could tell you as a fact, they're not doing this unless he was a high character guy. You don't do this unless a guy sets the example off the field. And there have been numerous instances when he's done that. And for the people who got upset, by the way, that they didn't let him play that game, game late in the season to set that record. Well, I don't think anyone has a problem with it now, do they?
Absolutely not, including Saquon Barkley. And listen, he went over 2,000 yards, 2005. He is the all-time highest-paid running back. Now, I know it's hard to answer this question, but I just want to get maybe your thoughts on, do they approach him here, and does that potentially help them starting Monday with free agency? Is this a move to say, hey, we need to give you more money so that we can add some pieces?
Well, Mike, see, until I see the breakdown, I can't really comment on that. I don't comment on things I don't know.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. Without knowing the deal, but yeah. I guess I'm saying it was your intuition kind of say, you know what? Yeah, they're probably approaching him with the hope that helps them make some moves here, because they did release Darius Slay yesterday. Gives them
actually not yet, Mike. Just to be clear, they have not, as of right now. I'm looking to get the personnel notice from the NFL. No, I don't think they can. Slay and James Bradbury. By the way, this is what it's about, Mike. Let's expand on Slay and Bradbury. It's really funny. It just so happens, and I have no idea, and I'll look into this if this is why they did it or part of why they did it. So it just so happens the Eagles are going to clear $36 million in total cash between Bradbury and Slay at the start of the new league year. $36 million in cash. To the dollar is exactly what they owe Slay and Bradbury. $16 million in Slay. Bradbury, none of it's guaranteed. They'll get that rebated back in cash. Now, not the cap's different. Cap's completely different. That doesn't matter. The cash is king. You talked about anybody who does contracts, Mike. It's about cash, not cap. They're getting $36 million back, more or less, and that matters to them. And that money's coming back. It's not like they didn't know this. They knew Bradbury was not going to come back at $20 million. Now with Slay, there was a little bit of a question, which is why they're keeping the door open. Maybe if they go through every option, whether Cooper DeJean, whether there's a free agent they like DJ Reed or somebody else out there that they may like, or via trade or the draft, if they strike out or they decide, you know what, this is not what we want to do, they could always bring Slay back at maybe half of what he was going to make in $16 million in total cash.
Yep.
But no, they're clearing $36 million in cash at the start of the new league year. I believe they have to wait. I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe that with voidable contracts, you have to wait to the new league year because those contracts will void. So, but Mike, they look. Cooper DeJean is obviously an option. He was so dynamic as a nickel defender. I mean, you're talking about had he played the full season, probably the best nickel defender. And we know Fangio doesn't call him a corner; he calls him a nickel. But he was unbelievable, Mike. I don't know what else you could expect from Cooper DeJean. I mean, he was just phenomenal. Just imagine had he been there from the beginning, who knows how great this defense would have been.
Good point there, too. He missed the first 4 weeks of the season, so he was behind and had to catch up a little bit. So the Eagles decide to move on from Slay, we think. He has said he wants to play one more year. Philadelphia, Detroit, he has admitted. And if it's not one of those two, does he just say, what's my offer, Philly? If Philly says, I like it earlier. Did they kind of approach him like Brandon Graham and say, hey, if you want to play at this low ball number, you can come back if you want? Or does he want to play at what he's worth?
Well, obviously he's not worth $60 million. There are 64 starting NFL corners. He is the oldest by far. It's really unprecedented what he's been able to do. I get that the tape shows he's not close to the same player he was, but he's still a good player. And is his money for 1 year $8 million? Is it $10 million? Is it $6 million with incentives to get it up to $10 million? Mm-hmm. That's something a team will have to look at. Now, he did admit on his podcast that he was very close to signing with Baltimore. Then Dom DeSandro, Eagles Director of Security, called and said, hey, we want you back. You remember, Mike, this is the craziness of the situation 3 years ago. They told Drew Rosenhaus's agent and Darius that we're going to release you. And then 4 to 5 hours later, not only did they not release him, he had no guaranteed money left in his contract. They wound up guaranteeing 2 years. That was the strangest in 27 years of covering the NFL, Mike. That's my top 3 strangest contract moments. There have been a couple that were weird. That was the strangest one that I could remember. No, it has nothing to do with this one. The Eagles have committed that they're definitely releasing him. They want to clear that cash up, and they'll get just over $6 million back in cap credit, but it's about cash. Now, Mike, the problem with free agency is, and as Jeff and I are going to go over, we have a show where we're going to go over potential free agent targets for the Eagles. Mike, I could tell you, cornerback, it's not very good. It's DJ Reed of the Jets, who's more of a number 2 corner, good football player. Really is a nice player. That was a good signing by former GM Joe Douglas. After that, it's really a bunch of mid-level free agents. It's Nate Hobbs, who could play inside or outside, nice player, a lot of injuries, but good football player. Javarius Ward of the 49ers. Carlton Davis, who got hurt the last 2 seasons. Some people think he's on the downward slide. Ironically, a former Eagles tie-in there with Asante Samuel Jr. His dad, of course, played for the Eagles. Christian Fulton. Again, they're mid-level guys. Stephon Gilmore will be a Hall of Famer. He's probably got 1 year left in him, Mike. So that's the thing here, why the Eagles have left the door open for Slay to come back potentially. Right. Potentially. It's just not a very good group. Now, we also have to see who gets cut. There might be some corners being cut.
Well, I want to, so you mentioned Cooper. We talked about this with Jeff yesterday. I want to get your take on it.
Sure.
Is Cooper, hey, I want to play outside corner. You'll play wherever they ask him to. You make more money on the outside.
Yep.
Rodgers, is he in the mix? Kaylee Ringo, Eli Ricks. There's a lot of interesting dominoes that kind of come here. You can move DeJean to the outside. Now you got to find out. You're right back to square one looking for a nickel.
All right, so I'm told on Rodgers, I put this out on our show Tuesday, on Monday. He wants to be a starting corner. So I guess potentially if he can't find a starting job, I'm sure the Eagles would like to have him back. We'll see what that looks like. But not a choice. By the way, it wasn't close in training camp. Rodgers completely beat him out. In that role, Ringo's pretty good. Like if you don't have to play very much, he hasn't shown the ability to be a starter, Mike. Let's be honest about it. He's got ideal length. He could run fast in a straight line, but he's not fluid. Like Rodgers is smaller. He's not the athlete that Coop DeJean is. Now with DeJean, it's strictly their call. You're 100% right though, Mike. Nickel corners. Sorry, Vic Fangio. Nickel defenders don't make as much as outside corners. It's not close. So, yeah, eventually, this could be an issue for him and his agent to play outside. Now, is there no one's ever broken the bank. I'm talking really paid a nickel defender. If he's, the Eagles will do it. If he stays as a nickel this season and the following season, 26. Who's to say they don't pay him $20+ million a season and break the mold? With Howie doing the right thing and Jeffrey doing right by their players,
right?
you never want to rule that out. But you're absolutely right. Nickel defenders just simply don't make cornerback money.
Before we roll here, real quick on Bradbury. I mean, that was kind of a fait accompli, I guess.
Yeah, 20. Yeah, I talked to someone last week who's knows James very well. More better than not, he wants to play again. Obviously, his career is next to being over. Great guy, by the way. Class human being, really good leader, good person, helps younger players. But look, I don't blame the Eagles for giving them what they did. You know, had he not gotten hurt, they planned to keep him on the roster because of guaranteed money of about $12 million last season. They didn't know he would go down. You know, he would take the slide that he did. There's no way to predict that. You know, he kind of came out of nowhere after being cut by the Giants and was a second-team All-Pro. So, I mean, James had a nice career, but it's close to coming to an end here.
All right, we'll leave you with this. Adam Caplan, Deebo Samuel. Give us a quick overview on what this means for Washington. The Niners decide to move him for a fifth-round pick. I'm imagining they had to do something to try to get Purdy signed, so they take a fifth-rounder for Deebo here. And now the Commanders have this new toy. How he fits there, what does that mean in the NFC East? Yeah,
let's just take the NFC. We'll talk more about this on Friday when I have more time. But, look, the Washington severely overachieved. Yes, Jaden Daniels was elite. He was phenomenal. As a rookie, he was maybe the best we've ever seen. Certainly one of the best rookie quarterbacks we've ever seen. They just need to get him help. I mean, Olamide Zaccheaus, a former Eagle who really didn't play very much and get much of a chance, he was a quasi-starter for them. He was a free agent. De'Ami Brown is a free agent. They had to do something. You know, they tried to get Brandon Ayuk, Washington, prior to the draft. It fell through. They could not agree on compensation of what the Niners wanted. But they got Deebo. Deebo is a specialty type receiver. You better know how to use him. Cliff Kingsbury is a guy who's very creative. I expect him to be used the right way. Probably as a running back, a slot receiver, a move receiver. But he is not a deep threat, not even close to that. He's a run after the catch receiver. They still need help, though, at receiver. They're not done yet, as I understand it, at receiver.
Well, as you see, the Commandos, as Adam likes to call them, are coming after teams now, and that's their first move. It all starts Monday. We'll preview it more on Friday during Football at 4 right here on the Sports Bash. Adam Caplan and the crew inside the Birds will have a new pod breaking down this Saquon Barkley deal. Check that out on all podcasting platforms. Thanks, Adam.
You got it. Thank you.